first down. They hand off to Marlon Mack. Huge hole, 50-yard line. He's at the 40, still going near sideline. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he will score. Touchdown, Marlon Mack. Touchdown, INDY. And again, it's picked up. It's Darius Leonard. Leonard with his second INT, and he's streaking down the near sideline. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's going to go. A pick six for the Maniac.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to the Bring the Juice podcast. I'm your co-host, Derek Larger. Joining me, as always, is your other co-host, Cody Felger. And today, we have some very special guests from Titans Weekly podcast. Their names are Jacques and Hawk. They are definitely some big hype men for the Tennessee Titans. If you guys haven't seen their podcast, be sure to go check that out on YouTube. A lot of fun, a lot of excitement coming out of there. And I know us Colts fans, we certainly have our opinions on the Tennessee Titans. They're certainly going to have their opinions on us, but I just wanted to welcome them to the show. Guys, thanks so much for coming on today.
Absolutely, man. We truly appreciate it. The Titan fans that watch our show, they know we can't do a show without our intro, Jacques. So welcome to your favorite Tennessee Titans podcast, along with Bring the Juice Colts podcast. Hope and Jacques is here, baby. Jacques.
Oh.
Jacques.
Oh.
Derek and Cody. Welcome, y'all. We want to just say thank you again for inviting us to the show. We are very excited, man. We've been watching your podcast as well. A lot of excitement. You guys are very knowledgeable upon the Colts. Yes, we do bring the energy, but, man, we have a lot of knowledge about the Titans. We've been looking at it as well, too, man. We know a lot about the Colts, so this should be a great show. We've been to many Colts games there in Indianapolis, here in Nashville. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Very nice, guys. Very nice.
And we're definitely, like you said, here to bring the juice, as the podcast says. And definitely we're excited to be on the podcast. We really appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity and vice versa. We got plenty of these coming down the line. But we've been, like Hawk said, we've been to plenty of these heartbreaking Colts and Titans games, and some been in our favor, some have been in you guys' favor. So definitely excited. Hey, tighten up and Colts Nation, let's go.
Yep.
All right. Before I even get into the first question, I said this on Twitter yesterday, and I hope you guys knew it was coming because I had to talk about Andrew Luck, man. Our guy Andrew Luck. It's no denying that when
we can't hear you, Derek. Derek, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you either.
Yeah. He's still going.
He's still going.
He is. That means we don't need to ask any questions about Andrew Luck, right? That's a sign. That's a sign. Man. We can leave Andrew Luck alone. He's comfortable at home. Hey, we don't want to see that guy anymore. He's done. We're on the Jacoby
he was
River.
like undefeated, like 12-0 or something against the Titans. It's wild, man.
Yes, the whole city knew about it, man. At the end of the day, he owned us. Like he did. And me and Jacques talk about this all the time. And again, you guys are listening to it from our perspective here. Andrew Luck with the team that you guys have had could have won the Super Bowl easily. Yes. I'm telling you. Yeah. Andrew Luck's a top 3 player in the league. He was the best player in the AFC South his entire time here. You got Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck. You can scrabble however you want. Andrew Luck is that good of a player. He's unbelievable. Andrew Luck's unbelievable. He's damn near flawless. He'll make a dumb throw every so often, but for the most part, he's very controlled. You guys are very well coached, probably one of the better well-coached teams in the league. So with Andrew Luck, you could have me, you, and all of us at wide receiver. We're going to win football games. So we're glad we don't see number 12 no more, man.
So definitely, I'm agreeing with Hawk. And I told Hawk this, like, when Andrew Luck retired, I was ecstatic. I was happy. But I'm going to tell you guys, if Andrew Luck was still playing to this day, first of all, I don't think the Titans would make playoffs.
Right.
That's number one.
Yep.
Number two, I think that they would have beat the Chiefs.
Yep.
And the offensive line, the way you guys' offensive line is just stacked. It was just built for Andrew Luck. And just they don't – number 12 didn't get enough respect in my eyes.
Right.
Nobody in the media didn't really put him up there with the top 5, top 3 quarterbacks. But honestly, of course, we see him in the South twice a year, sometimes 3. But just Andrew Luck was a pain in our existence, and every time he played, we couldn't beat him. And I just hate to see his career end like that. But at the same time, I'm a Titans fan, so it helped us out. I'll take it.
We'll take it. We'll do the Damian Lillard wave. Bye.
Yeah,
we'll see you, Luck. We'll see you, bro.
I feel that.
But Matt,
yeah.
Yep.
All right. So, guess first question for you guys. I mean, obviously, 2019, that season was a season for you guys to remember. One of the better seasons that you guys have had in a long time, beating a lot of powerhouses. You were basically the underdog story from week 17 all the way through the playoffs, all the way up until leading the Chiefs in the AFC championship game and then ultimately losing. I mean, Derrick Henry having a phenomenal season like we've not seen many before. Ryan Tannehill coming in, saving the Tennessee Titans from another bad season. Give us a little bit of perspective, guys, on how that season was for you individually.
So
go for it, Jacques.
So for me, it was, and if people go back and look at our video, we did a video, the season prediction video of what our record was going to be for 2019. And I remember I had us going 13-3, and people kind of like, you're crazy. And I actually went down, and I just went down our roster, and I seen, okay, hey, we're strong here, we're strong here, we're strong here, but we knew that we had an issue at quarterback, which was Mariota. I like the kid, don't get me wrong, but we knew there was a change coming. To see number 22 just blossom in his third year and just finish off how he finished off in 2018, just come through and just be a bulldozer. And it was an exciting, and a lot of people had counted us out, but the change, the big elephant in the room was quarterback. And when Tannehill came in, he had a spark, and he sparked it. We had our rookie receiver, A.J. Brown. If not too many people know about him, he had 1,000 yards this season. Of course, the big train, Derrick Henry, and then Tannehill. And then the defense was high in the beginning of the season, but then kind of trickled off due to injuries. But, I mean, it was a season. It actually reminded me of the 2008 season when the Titans went to the playoffs. Didn't get far, but, I mean, you can kind of marry it to the 2008 and also the 99 season when we went to the AFC Championship. So it was a surreal feeling. But, I mean, hopefully we can mimic that in 2020, but we'll see. What about you, Hawk?
Well, I would say this. As crazy as it might sound, man, we were not as surprised that they went as far, especially when Ryan Tannehill started picking up the slack at the quarterback position, because there were games when Mariota was playing early where he struggled. Again, we're Mariota fans, but he had his struggles, even against the Colts, against you guys early in the season, right? We couldn't score a touchdown. Our defense did its part, right? We held Marlon Mack. We held down T.Y. Hilton, who usually has a big game against us. Yeah. But, once Ryan Tannehill started playing, and after about the third game he started playing and started winning football games, I was like, see, that was the element that we were missing, because we already have 22 in the backfield. You got the rookie A.J. Brown that stepped up. Our defense was consistent the entire season until the last part, as Jacques mentioned. So for us, our line is strong. We have, good components. The biggest question I had was the fact that Delanie Walker got hurt. That hurt us. But when Ryan Tannehill started picking up and you have 22 in the backfield, 22 as in Derrick Henry, Colts fans who I'm sure you guys who know who he is, yep. But Derrick Henry provides something that no other NFL team provides. That's a big running back that can run the football. Most teams now are speedy teams, small defenses, even like the Colts. Now, again, the Colts run defense, you guys are good, man. Okay, I'm telling you, we see that. You guys tackle and you're coached very well. But the Colts, is like most defenses, are small defenses. So we provided something that most teams didn't, and that's why we were successful. If you look at our video, by the way, you can subscribe to us at Tennessee Titans Weekly on YouTube. You'll see on the preview games before the Patriots and even the Ravens in the playoffs, we detailed everything as to how we can beat them simply by running the football and playing stout defense. That's what we were about, and that's what we did. We had a chance to beat the Colts in the third quarters where we sort of fell through, but the Titans was a very good football team, has been a good football team. We've been having issues with inconsistencies at quarterback and even on our run defense as well. So, I'm excited for the future for the Titans, man. Tighten up, man. Tighten up.
Yep, and I'll ask you guys one more question here before I let you ask a question of your own here. I always thought that over the last few years especially, I think that you guys have had, honestly, the best roster in the AFC South overall, because you guys have had a very solid offensive line. You've had some decent young wide receivers. Obviously, Derrick Henry now is a premier running back in this league. your defense at every position, there's somebody that's good. Your linebackers are very stout. You had some good defensive linemen, and that was the one guy I wanted to talk about is Jarrell Casey. So obviously you guys lost Jarrell Casey, and this is interesting to me, just how he said how this situation went down. I was shocked by this. I know that Jarrell Casey, may not have been the premier defensive lineman out there, but he's a Pro Bowler. This guy's been good. He's been solid. He's been a premier run-stopping defensive tackle in this league for a few years now. And to see he got just traded away to Denver for a 7th-round pick, that really shocked me. And it shocked Jarrell Casey, too. So, I have no idea why that even happened. I mean, what was your guys' reaction? Because I thought that was kind of a really dumb move.
It was, we're shocked here in Nashville. We're shocked that it happened. Not so much that it happened, but for what it was for, a 7th-round pick for next year. Okay, he got traded this year for next year. Yeah. That to me is the biggest surprise as to because in the NFL, there's business that's going to happen. You're going to lose stars. The Colts have lost Edgerrin James in the past. Why did that happen? You're going to have instances where your stars, when it comes to that contract year, because he was due almost $12 million. And to pay a nose tackle at $12 million at 32 years old, you got to kind of look at it like, okay, is this going to pan out? If anything, maybe I think we could have maybe worked on a contract. But Denver is, giving him the money that he wants. And so for us, we was kind of like, look, in our defense last year, in the first half of the season, we were a top 10 defense. In the last half, we were 21 in defense, okay? So right now, we're looking to get faster and younger. Jarrell Casey just happens to, to fall into that situation where it just didn't fit the system. Yes, I hate that we got rid of him. Jarrell Casey's a legend here. Jarrell Casey caused problems, but I think it just came down to money, contracts, age. You got Jeffrey Simmons, the second-year player out of Mississippi State. You guys, Costanzo, Quentin Nelson, you guys better be ready. Those are unbelievable linemen. We know this, okay? But they better be ready for number 98 because Jeffrey Simmons is coming. And the fact that we got Big Beasley, and possibly Jadeveon Clowney. So I think it's an addition by subtraction as to why we got rid of Jarrell Casey. What about for you, Jacques?
It's called the John Robinson effect. And if the Colts fans don't know who John Robinson is, that's our GM, of course. And John Robinson is known for drafting your replacement, okay? And when we drafted Jeffrey Simmons, I kind of knew, okay, that's Jarrell's replacement. His replacement is just coming. I mean, and how Jeffrey came into the mid part of the season in the middle of the playoffs and to record, 3 sacks? I'm like, okay, that shows me something. Hey, we got something special. Now, we know Jarrell Casey is a nose tackle. Nose tackles, if anybody knows anything about football, you're a run stopper. That's your primary thing to do is stop the run. Jarrell Casey is a special nose tackle where he can turn around and get sacks. When you turn around and get sacks like that, that's what happens. It makes you special. So to trade him for a 7th-round pick, that was an insult. To me, that was a big insult. I mean, you could at least gave him a 4th-round or 3rd-round pick for a premier Pro Bowl player like that. So to see how everything just crippled down, it was disrespectful. But I don't understand the business part of it. But, I mean, just imagine if we still had Jarrell Casey, Jeffrey Simmons going into the season, Vic Beasley, like you said, possibly Jadeveon Clowney, Harold Landry. That's an upgrade to our defensive line. But once we lost Jarrell, it leaves uncertainty on our defensive line to say, hey, Jeffrey, you're replacing a legend. Can you continue to feel what that legend did? So, I mean, the feeling in Nashville, it sucked. And when I actually seen the news about it, I was devastated. I called Hawk. I was like, why did we do that? And just some things that go in John Robinson's head. He does things that make sense, but in the time being in that moment, it's like, okay, it doesn't make sense. But when you sit back and contemplate and think about it, it makes sense. So,
Gotcha. All right. I didn't know if you guys had a question for us. I had a couple. We have a bunch more, but go ahead with yours.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. So, Phillip Rivers is in town, right? Phillip Rivers, the longtime San Diego/LA Charger quarterback, is in Indianapolis now. He's actually from a town not too far from Nashville, actually. He's bringing a lot of experience, a lot of wins and things. Last year, the Colts, you guys were 30th in the league in pass. I mean, wow, right? Yeah. With Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, he had his times of, doing well, but then, offensively passing the football was a struggle. I know you guys drafted Michael Pittman. Some people think he might win Rookie of the Year. I still, we can discuss that during the show. But bringing in Phillip Rivers, and you guys, barely missed the playoffs last year. Do you guys think with the addition of Phillip Rivers, the addition of Michael Pittman, even Jonathan Taylor at running back, of course you guys have arguably the best offensive line group in the league. Do you guys think now that you will make the playoffs
Cody, why don't you go ahead.
and win the AFC South?
All right.
Man.
Cody, go ahead.
Ooh.
First, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I certainly think it's trending up for, Phillip Rivers because he has those connections with Frank Reich, obviously, Nick Sirianni, the offensive coordinator. And he had statistically some of his best seasons when he was with those two guys. And so I think, obviously, Phillip Rivers is a massive upgrade from Jacoby Brissett. I know a lot of people will say, well, is he an upgrade? But you look at it in terms of, passing the ball. I know the touchdown to interception ratio is a little bit scary for some people, but, I mean, the Chargers were 6th overall last year with no offensive line, 6th overall in passing. And so, you throw in the addition of Michael Pittman, throw in the addition of Jonathan Taylor, best offensive line in football, I would argue. And then, just some other underrated signings along with, just the system, the quarterback-friendly system that Frank Reich runs. I think it's certainly a possibility. I think, honestly, the Colts have a pretty solid roster. If you look overall, I mean, I obviously would say the Titans probably have a better roster overall right now still. But the Colts still have a solid roster compared to what it was when Chris Ballard, the GM, started. I mean, he has built a very, very good roster and a team that, besides one game last year, the Colts were in every single game, down to the wire. And so I think just the addition of some of those guys, we actually have just recorded a podcast. We've been breaking down the different position groups and just thinking like there is optimism for every single position group on this Colts team. And so I think certainly the Colts have a lot better chance this year than they did last year. I'm not one to make these wild, bold predictions, but I honestly do think the Colts have, as good a shot as anybody in this division to win really the division. And honestly, I think it comes down to the Titans and the Colts because we saw, Bill O'Brien. If Bill O'Brien's still with the Texans, I mean, I'm not really afraid of them, honestly. Yeah. So for me, yeah, I do think it's going to come down ultimately to the Colts and the Titans. But if Phillip Rivers can get back to where he was with Frank Reich, I think there's no doubt the Colts have a really good shot at winning this division.
Yeah, I mean, people forget that 2 years ago in 2017, or actually in 2018, Phillip Rivers was widely regarded as a top 6, top 5 quarterback when you looked at the numbers' sake. I mean, the numbers back that up. So, I mean, Phillip Rivers is certainly not fallen off a cliff just yet. I know a lot of people are saying that, obviously, with what they saw last year, 23 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, that's not good. We can't have that. Frank Reich has already said that can't happen again. That's not going to fly here. But I will make a bold prediction here, Cody. I'm a little bit more dangerous than you are with these predictions. So I'll say this. I could potentially say right now that Phillip Rivers is walking into the best situation he has ever walked into in his professional career with the Colts where they are now. Last season, the Chargers were 28th in overall offensive line play. That is god-awful. You're never going to perform well. Your quarterback's not going to perform well when you do that. When you're going from the 28th to the 3rd best offensive line in football, and then you have – I obviously know the wide receivers for Indianapolis may not quite be as explosive as the Chargers were. Obviously, Keenan Allen is a beast. Hunter Henry is a different animal. But that's another good thing that Phillip Rivers is walking into. He's coming into a good offensive line, a team that wants to run the football. It's going to take him a lot of that pressure off of Phillip Rivers to have to keep up with the running game because the run game is just going to continue to wear down defenses. And they have some decent weapons. We don't know what Michael Pittman's going to actually provide yet, but T.Y. Hilton's still there. Zach Pascal's pretty good. We have Jack Doyle and Trey Burton, both guys that can run block and can catch the ball out of the line of scrimmage. So that's a good option. And then you obviously know the defense is going to improve this year. That's going to help Phillip Rivers. I do think Phillip Rivers is a very good upgrade over Jacoby Brissett Because like you guys said, 30th in passing, that's very different from what the Colts have seen the last 6 years before that, when Andrew Luck was keeping them in the top 10 every year in passing, even with a trash roster up until 2018. So, I mean, if Phillip Rivers, if he's anything like what we think he could be, even if that's, just a slight upgrade, that's still going to be better, and we're still going to get really good. I think it depends on Ryan Tannehill's play this year, and that's what I think Cody was going to ask you guys next. I want to have him ask you about Ryan Tannehill here.
Yeah. Obviously, he came in kind of mid-season. Marcus Mariota was not getting the job done, and the Titans kind of went on a run, kind of like Derek talked about, were the underdogs in a lot of games and beat some really good football teams, and ultimately fell just a little bit short of the Super Bowl. But now, a year after that, the Titans decide to extend Ryan Tannehill. They gave him a really big contract. I'm curious in your guys' thoughts. Do you think that was a good move from your perspective for the Titans to basically put all their eggs in the Ryan Tannehill basket here? What are your guys' thoughts on kind of their decision to bring back a guy like Tannehill and give him that massive extension?
Well, I actually think it's a great pickup and a great deal that we had to make. When you're looking at quarterbacks in the market, even where he fell in his contract is actually favorable versus other quarterbacks that have done what he's done. I mean, he's, all quarterbacks in the league now, when that contract comes up, man, it's pay time, right? Especially if you're in your prime. And so, he definitely was, a huge factor as to why we won a lot of football games and almost made it to the Super Bowl. It was a smart decision. You want to keep that continuation going over the past several years. Unlike the Colts, who've had Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, you guys have been stable at quarterback. So you guys woke up in the morning, knew who your quarterback was. Prior to Tannehill and, with Mariota, Vince Young, Zach Mettenberger, Jake Locker. I mean, since Steve McNair has been gone, we've had an interchangeable pieces at quarterback. And, we might have a quarterback for 2 or 3 years and then next year something else. So, with Ryan Tannehill, what folks don't understand is even in Miami, Ryan Tannehill had plenty of years of throwing 4,000 yards, 90 to 95 not completion percentage, but quarterback rating. So he's had a good career he's had a lot of touchdowns in his career. So it isn't like he's just out of nowhere. He superseded the expectations, but you definitely have to sign him. I mean, we almost made it to the Super Bowl, and it wasn't anything that was a fluke. We beat teams, man. It wasn't anything that was out of luck. We ran the football. When we needed him to throw the ball, he threw the ball. A.J. Brown, he got open. He made plays. Ryan Tannehill, made the plays when he needed to. He did not make a lot of mistakes. He only had, I think, 6 interceptions last year. So he played his tail off. You definitely have to sign your quarterback. As you guys know, if Phillip Rivers does a great job and you guys go far in the playoffs, when that contract is up, you're going to probably want to re-sign him. Yes, he's older. You might want to draft a quarterback coming up, but quarterback is about 50% of the offense. If you're good at quarterback, everything else kind of works itself out. What about for you, Jacques?
So I definitely agree. I mean, we had to sign him. I mean, you have different options out there like Cam and other quarterbacks, but definitely with the success. And I'm going to tell you why Tannehill was successful. It was because of 22 as well. It's like Batman and Robin. They go hand in hand. And when you have Ryan Tannehill having a 22 versus what he had in Miami, if you think about it, in Miami, it was a running back carousel. I mean, he had Kendrick, he had different running backs coming in and out. Yes, he had Landry, but also with the different weapons he had in Miami, he didn't have in Tennessee. Something that piqued my interest. And me and Hawk did the statistics when we broke down the stats of Ryan Tannehill. I mean, he has 4,000 yards. 4,000 yards here, 4,000 yards there. Something that just he didn't have the right team in the right system. And when you bring him in a system where he doesn't have to throw 50,000 times, and that running back number 22 takes that pressure off of him, it helps him out. So I think I honestly, in my opinion, I think Derek helped Tannehill get that contract as well. But I mean, did he deserve it? Yes, he deserved it. And because you want that continuity going into the second season. Think about it. If we were to go out and get another quarterback, hey, A.J. Brown, a new offensive system. So it's almost like year 2 for everybody to come in to improve, to get better, to get that chemistry with Corey Davis, and just certain things like that. So, I mean, the contract, I'm okay with the contract because we didn't really break the bank, and we can really actually put almost a 2 to 3 year deal versus whatever he signed in like a 4 or 5 year deal. So it definitely. So.
Yeah, I would think that Ryan Tannehill kind of came in and did what what Peyton Manning kind of did his last season with the Broncos before he went out. I mean, I think I honestly forget this sometimes. Tannehill came in there midway through the season. It's not like he had the full season, understood the playbook, came in right away, knew everything that was going on. I mean, he had to learn on the fly how to work with these guys. And obviously in the playoffs, he was I mean, let's face it, he didn't have a great games, but he did enough to the point where it wasn't costing them the game. And he was making some throws that resulted in some good plays that were able to keep drives going. So, I mean, obviously you did what you had to do. I thought the contract was a little too much. $91 million guaranteed, I think, is a lot of money for a guy like Tannehill. But again, like you guys said, that's just how it is. You know, you got to make sure you keep the certainty at the quarterback. That totally makes sense. All right. And so obviously this podcast, we've been talking a lot about Derrick Henry. You guys have been talking about Derrick Henry a lot. Obviously he was the main part of your playoff success throughout the last 8 weeks of the regular season and throughout the playoffs. And obviously there was a lot of questions. What do you think about, there's the 22. They're going to remind us a lot.
Yep.
And then obviously the question of, do you give him, what kind of contract do you give him? Do you give him an extension? Do you give him a long-time contract? Do you let him test free agency? What do you think there? But obviously Derrick Henry obviously signed a franchise tag, got himself $10.25 million this season, and you guys get to keep him around for at least one more year. What did you guys think? Was this the right move to let him do a franchise tag and keep him one more year?
So I believe so, yes. I say, of course, we know the quarterback position is the all-wow position, okay? We know we have to pay the quarterback. You have to have a quarterback. But at the end of the day, we know Derrick was what got us to the playoffs. And people can argue that and say, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. And in playoffs, Derrick Henry was incredible. So, yes, he deserves his contract. He got his franchise tag, that's fine. Something I like about Derrick Henry loves the Titans and he loves football. And something that I respect about Derrick Henry is that definitely he could have held out. He could hold out now if he wanted to. But Derrick Henry is in the offseason working very hard to say, hey, I want to get a contract done, but I also want to play football as well. So that's something I respect. Colts fans, something that you have to learn about our GM. Our GM is a stats guy. He's a numbers guy. And he drafts off of numbers, okay? So something that I've noticed about John Robinson is Derrick Henry early in his career, he didn't have the success that he's having now. I remember Hawk used to scream at the TV every Sunday saying, hey, you're not using Derrick Henry the right way. You're not using him the right way. And I agree. We were not using Derrick Henry the right way. And I think that hindered him. And then that second year, boom, he just blossomed. And it was just like the latter part of the year, he got his 1,000 yards. And that was something like, okay, hey, it's a potential thing. All right, next year he gets another 1,000 yards. He's the leading rusher of the NFL. So something tells me that John Robinson values the running back position, but he doesn't value it that high. So if I was to sign Derrick Henry, I would at least give him about a 5-year, maybe 15 mil deal, or 14 mil. I know it's a little high for a running back, but for the work he's put in, it helped. And we just drafted a running back as well, Arrington from Appalachian State, who can take that pressure off of Derrick, so it kind of helps him out as well. But, I mean, pay the man. I've been saying that since the beginning of the season. I'm saying it now. Pay him. He deserves it.
And, Hulk, real quick, before I let you go, the one person that I think y'all should be thanking for why Derrick Henry jumped from year 2 to year 3 the way he did is the man on that flag behind you. It's Eddie George. Because Derrick Henry said, I talked to Eddie George over the offseason before last season started, and I found my love for the game again. Because Derrick Henry was saying, I just don't – I'm not enjoying this. This isn't what I imagined I could do when I came to Tennessee. And then he talked with Eddie. Eddie gave him some tips and helped him find his love again. And, I mean, y'all see how that turned out. So, I mean, Eddie George is is what y'all should be thanking for Derrick Henry's success.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with Derrick Henry, you know, even at Alabama, Derrick Henry had a slow start in his career early. And then once he had the reins, he was the man. Derrick Henry was unbelievable. You look at Derrick Henry now, it's from a contractual standpoint. Him signing that franchise tag got him paid, versus what he was making over the past several years. I think he was only making $2 million. Now he's making above 10. So he's got a smile on his face even in that regard, right? So when I look at a contract standpoint, as Jacques stated, yes, Derrick Henry is the reason why we made it almost to the Super Bowl. Derrick Henry, again, was unstoppable. When you look at, teams trying to scheme and to stop him, they couldn't do it. So with Derrick Henry, the tricky part for him is that he is a running back. And as you all know, when you look at Le'Veon Bell, you look at Ezekiel Elliott, David Johnson, running backs that have got big contracts. And then if you look at the return on investment, did it happen? Probably not. But Derrick, it might be in a different situation. And the reason I say that is because he was preserved over the past several years. He's just now hitting his stride, which is a great thing. So I do think, you do sign Derrick Henry. You say, hey, you're the reason why we made it this way. We are a running football team. We do not rely on throwing the ball, because if we did that, we wouldn't win a lot of football games if that was our sole purpose. Because of Derrick Henry and the way that we're building our team, and as Jacques stated as well, we drafted Darrington Evans, number 32. So Colts fans, get ready to see this guy as well. When you look at our team, I would say you don't do Derrick Henry like they did say Sean Alexander, where they just ran and just run and run and run. I think you run them, but you don't give them maybe 35 carries. Maybe give them 25, 20 carries. Get Darrington Evans in there or whatever. I think you can be smarter. You learn from the past. And I think with that mindset, we can say, hey, let's sign Derrick Henry to a 4-year deal. Let's get him some upfront money as we do for running backs, pay him a whole bunch of money upfront and make his salary maybe $12 million a year or whatever. I think that would be a great deal for us. We got the money. It's just a matter if we want to write the check. So you write the check, or Derrick Henry will play this 1 year and get paid somewhere else.
Yeah, you guys do have the money. I think the Colts and I think actually 3 teams in the AFC South are still top 10 in remaining salary cap, which is actually pretty impressive.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead with your guys' question here. We'll go ahead.
All right.
Derek and Cody, I have a question. So,
all right.
With the Colts, we've talked about strength, and we've talked about the offensive line. I'm an advocate, and I've told Hawk this. Y'all have one of the meanest offensive lines in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Of course, with the upgrade receiver and running back, I like Jonathan Tate from Wisconsin. What would you guys consider your weakness on your team? You have a lot of strengths. We all know we have weaknesses on our teams. What weakness do you guys think you have?
Well, I think the one weakness we had before we added DeForest Buckner this offseason was the defensive tackle position. I mean, last season, our defensive tackles all together combined for 6.5 sacks. So that's not going to cut it. And DeForest Buckner obviously is an all-pro young stud that can do anything on the inside, being, when you're 6'7", 300 pounds, that's quite impossible to really get one-on-one. So that was a weakness, and I think it still can be if we don't put them in the right positions there. But I think ultimately what Colts fans harp the most, and I think Cody will understand this, is I think we as Colts fans are tired of seeing the zone coverage. I know that the Colts do it pretty well compared to a lot of other teams that do it, but God, it's so miserable to watch every Sunday when you see teams keep racking up yards. It's kind of funny because the Colts only gave up over the last 2 seasons, have only given up 17.5 points a game. That's relatively decent. That's middle of the ring, but it is very, very annoying, especially when you're playing against a team that can really exploit the zone. I know that even Tennessee has had times where they are able to find ways through there, but the secondary for us is still young. I think how many players now, Cody, do we have that are over 25? I mean, obviously with Xavier Rhodes being in, that's
TJ
one,
Carey, that's 2.
TJ Carey, that's 2. I mean, we are the youngest roster in the NFL right now. It's incredible just because, you're expecting a lot of these young guys to come out there and perform with these NFL caliber guys that are just, head over heels better than everyone else. So this team is going to continue to get better where its weaknesses were. But, that secondary was an issue for many years. Defensive tackle position is the worst one that we have right now. Yeah, I think that's the biggest weaknesses for me. Cody, what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I would say definitely secondary, just because there's a lot of unproven right now in the secondary. I mean, Rocky Ascend last year, second-round pick. He's probably going to be better than he was last year, but he's still relatively young. You bring in Xavier Rhodes, who a couple years ago he was All-Pro, but the last 2 years he's not been anywhere near that. And so, and then Kenny Moore, obviously, I would argue he's the best slot corner in the league right now, which is good. But he does about everything for you. I mean, he can play about anywhere, and he can get to the quarterback too, which certainly helps. And you guys don't have Logan Ryan anymore, so you probably can't argue that with me. But
Logan Ryan to the Colts, please make it happen.
More slot, why not?
Yeah, right. He'll play that zone defense for you too, man.
Hey,
Logan Ryan
I'd love it.
Yep.
The dumb thing is, like, when they play man, they're actually super effective. Like, that's how they beat Patrick Mahomes, is like they just played man and like it worked.
Yeah, Quincy Wilson, who is no longer on the team now, played against Travis Kelce. He manned him all game, and Travis Kelce had what? 4 catches for 4 or 5 catches. That's it. He was a non-factor. So it's like, how? And that's the sad part, is what we were saying about Quincy Wilson, is like, how can a guy who played in the most important game of the whole season, lock down maybe the best tight end in all football, and then just not be on the team after this year? I mean, that just doesn't sit with me. I don't understand. But Cody, go ahead.
I think with that, like that made me just think, in addition to like the secondary, there's been a couple guys that the Colts have invested pretty early picks in. Quincy Wilson, Malik Hooker's still on the roster, but I would argue for being picked 15th, he hasn't even sniffed, where he should be in terms of that value. And Derek's an Ohio State guy, so he'll probably disagree with me.
Yeah,
but
y'all didn't notice.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think maybe it's kind of scheme as well, but there's just been some higher draft picks that just haven't panned out in recent years at the defensive back positions. So, I mean, there are some that have panned out. I mean, Corey Willis last year was a 4th-round pick, and he's probably one of the better strong safeties now in the league. I mean, he played fantastic last year. But it's just inexperience right now, I think, and, it'll truly be interesting to see, does Xavier Rhodes kind of get at least partly back to where he was in 2017, or does he continue kind of downslide? Now he's 30. That'll just be interesting to watch. But, for me, I'd probably say secondary, because there's unknown and also just a lot of youth there.
Yeah.
All right, Cody. Ask them, because Colts fans and Tennessee Titans fans, this is one thing that I know we're all going to be happy about, and that's one guy that we don't have to cover anymore.
Oh, thank
2
goodness.
times a freaking year. Go ahead and ask them.
Yeah. I mean, it's hilarious. I want to know your guys' reaction when you saw that. I mean, I was just like, okay, is this like that Barry guy on Twitter or something?
It's like some fake account.
Right, Adam Schefter.
Right.
This can't be real, right? Like, that had a similar reaction to when Andrew Luck retired. Like, this can't be real. This isn't a real thing that's happening. What were your guys' thoughts? Obviously, you're ecstatic like we were.
Yes, very ecstatic. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins has been unbelievable. I mean, he's been the best receiver in the division for years, right? He made the Pro Bowl even last year, right? So, yes, and what's so crazy about the AFC South, man, when you think about DeAndre Hopkins and you look at us as the Titans? The AFC South have had some of the biggest departures except for the Titans. I know that's crazy. Andrew Luck is gone, right? Jadeveon Clowney is gone. DeAndre Hopkins is gone. I'm trying to think of some other players.
Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey from Nashville. He's from Nashville, gone, right? A lot of players are out of the division. So when that happened, I was like, that's another player out. So for us, that's good for us. Like, okay, I mean, the talent is gone. So we should be the best team in the AFC South, right? Even though we did not win the division, but going forward, I mean, it's there. I mean, you guys, again, you've added players, DeForest Buckner, Phillip Rivers. Marlon Mack, I know he's been on the team. He's a very good running back, too. I don't know if Colt fans try to give him credit. Marlon Mack is a good running back, okay?
Yeah.
But, when he was out of the division, when he got traded, I was like, you guys have to be kidding me. For what? He got traded for what?
Really? Yeah, I was done. I was like, we were all. I think everyone was saying, please sign Bill O'Brien to a lifetime contract, please. It's like what Harbaugh is for Ohio State fans. Like they never beat us. Just let him keep coaching, please.
Right.
Bill O'Brien as a coach is a good coach. He's a good coach.
He is a good coach.
Just as a GM, he's terrible.
He's terrible. He's terrible. He is terrible.
Now, for me, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a joke. I was literally like, wow, I can't believe this. And when I got the news, D Hop was gone, and Hawk texted me, I said, no, this can't be real. And what they got him for, I was like, wow. I mean, if I was a Texans fan, I would be devastated.
I think they were.
They were.
Yeah.
But I mean, for us, after that happened, I said, no, it's down to the Colts and the Titans. I mean, the Texans still have Deshaun Watson. We know that, okay? Yeah. But that's one man, right? That's one quarterback. The way Bill O'Brien has been GMing is not the best. I mean, they got rid of D-Hop and you bring in Brandon Cooks and some just B-level, C-level receivers. It's just confusing, but am I happy? I'm ecstatic. And they can have them.
Bye, D-Hop.
Bye.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, but that Cardinals team is going to be, oh my goodness.
The Cardinals team is going to be legit. I mean, because Kyler Murray was already good last season. Now he's actually got a bunch of different receivers and an additional running back that he can now throw to out of the backfield. I mean, he's going to have options this year. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys got any more for us here?
Absolutely.
All right.
So I know we spoke upon the weaknesses of the Colts, and that is you're speaking on your defensive backs. I saw on Twitter that you guys feel that Kenny Moore should be a Pro Bowler, which I disagree. I just want to say that because in the AFC, I mean, you got Stephon Gilmore. I mean, we got Tre'Davious White, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphreys, Joe Hayden.
I would definitely say Kenny Moore is definitely better than Marcus Peters, but go ahead.
Okay. So
and some others.
So when I analyze the team, so I guess I would want you guys to prove me wrong. So in my opinion, if I had that question asked to me as far as the weaknesses of the Colts, I would say wide receiver, and I would say that to say this. Yes, you have T.Y. We know the dance. We know the T.Y. dance.
Yeah,
we see that. We've seen that plenty of times. He even said 2 years ago against the Titans, I'm going to score 2 touchdowns and I'm going to put up 150, and that's exactly what he did. So I have a lot of respect for T.Y. Hilton. I get that, but he's getting older. I think he kind of went down a bit last year. I don't know, maybe because of the quarterback play. He doesn't seem as fast as he's had in his past. I mean, hey, that's just age. That's what happens. But besides him, you got Michael Pittman, who's a rookie. So we don't know. You can't put stock in a rookie. You got Zach Pascal, right? Chester Rogers, right? And, I like Jack Doyle at tight end. So I think the weakness of the team is the wide receivers. Now, going into the season with Phillip Rivers, Marlon Mack, Jonathan Stewart, and also the offensive linemen, do you think that the wide receivers are good enough to push you all to go to the playoffs? And if so, who will be the best receiver besides T.Y. Hilton to fill that slot?
I'll kind of go first here. I think that the receivers that you have now, the reason they went with Pittman is because you see a trend in what Phillip Rivers has liked to have throughout his career. He likes tight ends who can receive. Obviously, he's had Antonio Gates for the majority of his career. Antonio Gates doesn't really get a lot of love from the national media, but when you look at his numbers, I mean, they're incredible. Jack Doyle is a very reliable guy. He's not a guy that's like Eric Ebron where he's going to make the spectacular catch, but he does make consistent number of catches. He is reliable. He is there. And Trey Burton, again, you have the injury history. That's what concerns me. But Trey Burton is a reliable target when he's healthy. He has put up numbers. And Michael Pittman is like what Mike Williams has been for the last 2 years with Phillip Rivers, that very tall wide receiver that if Phillip Rivers just lets it go and he's one-on-one with any defensive back that's like 6 foot or lower, Michael Pittman's going to win that battle the majority of the time because he's 6'5" and 220 pounds. I mean, that's a big boy. and especially when you're in the red zone, because I saw the stat today. The Colts are actually the 5th best offense at converting touchdowns in the red zone when they get there. So the Colts actually are very good in the red zone when they get in there. So Michael Pittman has that ability. But like you said, he's a rookie. We don't know yet. It's just what's going to happen. Zach Pascal, I don't want to throw too much shade at Zach because we may be getting an interview with Zach here very soon. So he's reliable. He's still young. He's only 24, 25. So, I mean, he's still young. I mean, last season and back in, what was it? I think it was 2018 as well. He was very reliable. It's one of those guys where when all the receivers went down, Zach was the only reliable guy. You know, and outside of that, you're right. We don't really have a lot of other guys to truly count on. I mean, a lot of guys, we had Deion Kane last season that went down 2 years ago with an ACL injury, and everyone was like, oh, this guy's lighting people up in training camp. He's going to be that number 2 wide receiver behind T.Y. Gets hurt, just never really performs after that, and then he's gone. And now we have another guy, Reese Fountain, who last offseason was killing it in training camp as well. Again, blown out injury there, and he was out for the season. So it's, again, another thing where who's going to be the 4th wide receiver, because we know who our 3 guys are, but there's so much uncertainty. Even as we improved that position in this draft, we still have a lot of questions. Cody, what are you thinking there?
Derek, I'm kind of disappointed in you that you have not mentioned Paris Campbell's name once in this podcast. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I
Ohio
know.
State guy.
Because you've been throwing a lot of shade at Paris Campbell recently, and
So you're just like, I'm not going to talk
didn't
about
want
him
to
at
think
all.
about it anymore because, again, Paris Campbell right behind me, okay? I got him to sign that stuff, all right?
Wow.
So,
But Paris Campbell's a guy that nobody has really talked about, but he was the fastest receiver in the draft a couple of years ago in 2019. And he's a guy that, you know, I think is going to be phenomenal if he can stay healthy. I mean, we saw the few games that he was at that he was healthy, especially that Pittsburgh game. He had over 100 scrimmage yards, and that's with Jacoby Brissett as quarterback. And we've already talked about how we think Phillip Rivers is going to be a massive improvement over Jacoby Brissett, just for the fact that Phillip Rivers is a very receiver-friendly quarterback. And you got, you know, T.Y. Hilton, who, besides last season, he's never really missed much time. And I know you can kind of argue like, okay, age is a factor, which it is. I don't disagree with you there, but T.Y. Hilton, overall, his track record has been, he's been more often than not very healthy and very reliable. I mean, he's even played through injuries. Like, you know, he played in that game in 2018, Colts versus Titans. He played in that game. He had like his entire like ankle, like lower, upper, all of it was injured, but he kept playing because he's just such a competitor like that. Mm-hmm. You throw in Michael Pittman, who, he's a rookie. He might take a little bit more time to develop, but the Colts have invested more recently, I guess they've invested some draft capital. And so I look at that compared to the defensive back position, and I kind of look at it as like the Colts have a lot more younger talent who I think have higher ceilings at this point in their career than they do in the secondary. And so I guess that's why I kind of am more optimistic. Also, with the addition of Phillip Rivers, the running game's probably going to improve. They were 7th last year. Now they add Jonathan Taylor. They add Trey Burton, a good, run-blocking tight end. Add Roosevelt Nix. You got to think their goal is top 5 rushing team, and that's just going to help everybody involved. And so I think the wide receiver, they're unproven, but they have a lot of good, reliable guys. And even Zach Pascal, I mean, with Jacoby Brissett in the 30th ranked offense, Zach Pascal had, I believe, over 700 yards. I mean, that's pretty good overall considering the circumstances. And so I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic about this team. They got a lot of young guys besides T.Y. Hilton, but they got a lot of talent.
And Cody,
as well.
I got to say this about T.Y. to show you the competitor he was in 2018. The last 6 weeks of the season, he did not practice. Never practiced. They literally sent him home and said, just look over the game film. Don't practice. Stay off that ankle. And still went out there every game. And it was always in the first or second quarter. They'd always zoom in on T.Y. on the sidelines touching that ankle. Like, man, this thing is killing him. But yet somehow, some way, this guy kept going out there and against Houston twice had 150 receiving yards each time against the Houston Texans. I mean, the dude is literally a competitor. He's the highest competitor on that offense. I mean, yeah, age is a factor. And we know he said this offseason that the next contract I get is going to be my last one. I know where my end is. And he said, because I want to retire a Colt, I built a legacy here. I mean, many people say he's the third best wide receiver that the Colts have ever had besides Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. And that's good company to be a part of. So, I mean, like you guys said, a lot of unproven guys in there, but like Cody said, I'm optimistic. About these guys. We just need to stay healthy. Like, holy crap, that was such a disappointment last season, was the health of those guys. Like, T.Y. Hilton went down, then Paris Campbell never stayed healthy. It was a mess. It was an absolute mess. All right. I think here, let me see what I got here. So, I think I saw your guys' video yesterday about you guys talking about your overall record for this next season. I didn't see the full thing. I know that I think Jacques had them going 7-2 to start the season. I was trying to say, okay, man, let's kind of pump the brakes here a little bit. I mean, I appreciated the first time you actually said, hey, I think we're going to drop this one to the Colts. You said, oh, well, I think we have the better roster. I think we have this and that, but I think we're going to drop that one. But, so for our listeners who obviously don't know what you guys think for the overall record, what's your guys' predictions for your record this year?
So we, of course, we're going to actually do another show if we have the preseason, which that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But for now, we had what me and Hawk had us going 11-5, and that was just off of us looking at our roster and everything. And when you break down our roster, and the reason why I had us going 11-5 and winning those games was because of that second year of Tannehill. Okay. Last year, Tannehill came in half the season. We seen what happened when Derrick Henry did the same exact thing the year prior. Remember, the year prior, he got his 1,000 yards. He did it it was 5 games. He got 1,000 yards. Then last year, he came through, had a full season to just come and be Derrick Henry, and he had 1,000 yards. So with Tannehill coming in halfway and we made it to the AFC Championship, that said, hold on, let me sit back and really just look at our roster and see what we have. And I just broke it down. We just had A.J. Brown, who came off 1,000 yards. We haven't had a rookie receiver do that. I don't think we have had a rookie receiver to just get 1,000 yards like that. And if we did, it's been a long time. The last receiver we did have that had 1,000 yards was Kendall Wright. So that was something promising. Then you turn around, you have CD Corey Davis. Corey Davis had, the year before, about 800, 900 yards just with Mariota. So I said, hey, let me stop and think. And if he had chemistry with Tannehill, just imagine what Tannehill having with that weapon in A.J. Brown and Corey Davis, having Derrick Henry in the backfield, Jonnu Smith, a new running back in Arrington. We still have Humphreys that we picked up last year in the slot. And we still, of course, we don't have a fourth receiver. But just going off that element along with the offense that we have, this offense should be more explosive going into year 2 with the regime of Tannehill and Derrick and everything like that. Now, defensively, the Colts and the Titans are so much alike on the defensive line. Our defensive line, man, is Hawk. We talk about it all the time that we have to get better. And we had Harold Landry, who had 9 sacks last year, and he got those 9 sacks early in the season. He kind of just halted. And something is we're trying to find that opposite of Harold Landry who can just be consistent. And that's the problem that I've had with our team for years is just consistency. So, but right now, I have us going 11-5. But, like I said, if preseason, we have another show coming down around preseason just to see what happens. That could change. I could drop 2 games. I could add 2. But right now, 11-5. What about you, Hawk?
Yeah, so when we did the prediction show, the thing was I didn't know at all what he predicted, and he didn't know that for me either. We already wrote down the teams that we felt that we could beat, and at the end of the show, we ended up both being at 11-5. And so, yes, I try not to have a fandom perspective on records, right? But I honestly do think that I think our schedule is very favorable, and even against the Colts. I mean, I have us, beating you all in Nashville, but you all beating us there in Indianapolis. I do think we're going to split with the Colts. Again, I do think as well that the Colts will make the playoffs. I think, again, the Colts are a much better team, at least on paper, than they were last year. So I think that you guys coming in will be a better football team. I do think we're going to win the AFC South, though. I mean, the Titans. But looking at the roster, looking at us as a team, for Colts who might not know a lot about the Titans, we have Kevin Byard, who's arguably the best safety in the league. 3 years, he has 17 interceptions. All you got to do is check his stats. Kevin Byard, if you throw it in his direction, he's going to pick the ball off. If you look at Adoree Jackson, one of the fastest corners in the league, when you talk about playing slot corner, Adoree Jackson is pretty much a lockdown slot. Even the fact that we drafted Christian Fulton from LSU. You got Malcolm Butler as well, the veteran, of course. Malcolm Butler got hurt at the end of the season. You look at Jeffrey Simmons, and what people might not know a lot about is Rashaan Evans, our middle linebacker. He is a beast. Now, I know that he doesn't have as many tackles as Darius Leonard, right? Darius Leonard led the league in tackles not last year, the year before, as a rookie. As a rookie. So, but we do have Rashaan Evans on defense. So we have a lot of players that a normal fan might not know about. Even Jonnu Smith at tight end. You want to talk about speed? He's arguably the fastest tight end in the league. Anytime he's had the football, he might get 3 catches, but one of them is going to be a touchdown. And again, A.J. Brown, he had only 60 catches, but over 1,000 yards, right? Yeah. So we have big-time playmakers. We are a team that's hard to tackle. It's hard to tackle Derrick Henry. It's hard to tackle A.J. Brown, and it's hard to tackle Jonnu Smith. So you got Taylor Lewan on the offensive line. Your offensive line is pretty straight. Again, probably top 10, maybe not top 3. I think the Colts, again, in my opinion, is number 1 in that regard. But I just think, again, as a Colt fan, you guys might not know certain players on the Titans that are very good. You look at Kenny Vaccaro, other safety. I mean, our DBs are really good. That's arguably the strength of our team. And so, with the play of our D linemen, if we can rush the passer, and even on our offensive line, if we can run block a bit better as well early in the season, we're going to be a problem. We will be 11-5. Again, we're splitting with the Colts. We'll give that. But the Titans will make the playoffs. We will win the AFC South. And it's going to be a battle between us and the Colts, but the Colts will make the playoffs. I do think that.
I would love to get you guys in touch with my friend Chase. I think he had forgive me, my friends sometimes are bold when their predictions. I think he had y'all being 3rd in the division. I immediately texted him, and I'm like, you might want to reconsider thinking the Titans might be 3rd.
Right.
But, it's whatever. He's a Deshaun Watson fanboy. It makes sense.
Deshaun Watson is the best player in the division.
Oh, yeah, he's the best quarterback.
He's the best player in the
division.
About right, no question about it. Right, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
The supporting cast around him is not very good, especially on that offense.
It's not.
All right, I think we got time for one more question here from you guys, and then we'll call that it.
Yes, sir.
Right.
So we know, and I agree with Hawk, and I've been saying this, and I've said this from the beginning of last year, even the year before. The Colts give us problems, and the one team that scares us. And people can go back and look at one of our shows we did in 2017 when I said the Colts are going to give us fits. I said that, and we ended up losing to you guys in the playoffs. I mean, in the last game to get to the playoffs that year. So never forget it. My question is, I'm going to say you guys are going to make the playoffs. How deep in the playoffs do you think you guys can go with the roster you have now, and with the talent that you have now, and the teams that you have to get to, or arguably the ultimate goal is Super Bowl? What do you think?
Cody, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, and I think the Colts do have a really good shot to make a deep playoff run, because you look at it in the playoffs, like besides Patrick Mahomes, who we know is absolutely insane, most of the time, even with the Titans, like the Titans were beating teams because they could run the football.
Yep,
and I think that's an emphasis that the Colts, right, and that's an emphasis that the Colts have doubled and tripled down on. We actually made a video early in the offseason. Like, the Colts are serious about wanting to run the football, establish the run, control the line of scrimmage. Obviously, their drafts have reflected that. Their free agent pickups have reflected that. And so I think if the Colts get in the playoffs, they're going to have, teams kind of on the ropes a little bit. Maybe teams that are overall, have flashier, better players at the premium positions. You think the quarterback, defensive end, whatever it is. I think the Colts have a really legitimate chance because they have a good defense. They've upgraded that defense, and they have a really good running attack. And if Philip Rivers can be even half the player he was, in 2018, I think the Colts have a legit shot. I mean, I think if Philip Rivers can do kind of, even if he's not throwing for 300 yards per game in the playoffs, if he can kind of do what Ryan Tannehill did for you guys last year, right, where he can just manage games and not lose games and really just make the throws he needs to make and let the running backs do the work, I think the Colts have a legitimate shot. I think one thing that's interesting, and I think the Colts and the Titans are built very similar in that way, where they want to control the offensive and defensive lines. And when you do that, when it comes down, we saw for years and years in the Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck era, fantastic quarterbacks, generational quarterbacks. When it came down to the playoffs, they ultimately fell short a lot of times because they couldn't do that. They couldn't make, those plays. When you're in New England, right, and the passing game is not working, when it's 30 degrees and it's snowing out, right, you have to run the football. And if you can't, you're not going to win. And the Colts are set up well, I think, to do that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think to answer your question, if the Colts do make the playoffs, I think they have a legitimate chance to upset some teams kind of like you guys did. I think because we're built the same way, we have a chance to kind of make a run like that too if all goes well. Derek, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, in 2006 playoffs and 2007 Super Bowl, people forget – they always want to talk about Peyton Manning. But everyone forgets the running attack was what ran that show. Edgerrin James and other guys like that, they were running for over 100 yards every game. That was keeping that offense moving, especially late in the season. You want to be able to run the football because teams are going to get tired. Fatigue gets set in after a long season. Who can dominate the offensive line up front? I'm just kind of looking at some of the teams in the AFC. Kansas City, I don't know who all can really legitimately beat them right now, even though I know you guys beat them in the regular season this last year. I get that. I'm just talking about playoffs perspective. I mean, if y'all did it in the playoffs against the Ravens, I think the Colts could do it too, the same way that you guys did it. You guys just tried to just either let Lamar try to make the big play or keep everything in front of him. That's basically what you got to do. And the only other team that I would fear if we went into the playoffs is the Pittsburgh Steelers, because the Colts have never had good luck with the Pittsburgh Steelers, never. And the way they play, the way the Pittsburgh Steelers play, they are tough on that defensive line. On that defense, they are young, they are tough, they are physical. And whether or not they get Big Ben back for a full season, that's beyond me. But again, Pittsburgh, just the way they play, it just never seems to work out for us. I'm not even worried as much about New England, to be honest with you, because I know they got Cam, but Cam's not a prolific passer anymore that he once was. And yes, New England has a very good secondary, but even the offensive line, I think, can still control the point of attack. I mean, 2 seasons ago when Andrew Luck first came back, the Colts had 13 starters missing in that game against New England, and yet we only lost by 2 touchdowns. It was 42-28. I mean, we had over half our roster gone, and we still did that. So I think those are the 3 teams that I would be the most worried about. And I'll probably be worried about the Titans too, because, again, you guys just it's different now that Andrew Luck's not there anymore. If it was Andrew Luck behind center, I would say I'm sorry to y'all. Hey, don't do that.
Oh,
to me.
man,
You're gonna hurt our listeners. Don't do that. I probably already pissed him off by mentioning his name in the beginning of it anyway. Us Colts fans are still not over that day, man. I'm still
We're happy.
Besides, like, relatives dying, that was probably the worst day of my life, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I hated that day so much.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, sir.
Hawk and Jack, thank you guys so much.
And thank you as
for
well,
being on
too.
here.
Thank you as well, too. I know you guys are part of the Fan of a Fan Network, man.
Yep.
We're trying to get on as well, too, man. We truly appreciate the show. Again, you guys can subscribe to us at Tennessee Titans Weekly, even on Instagram at Tennessee Titans Weekly, and on Twitter, Titans Weekly 24/7.
Link will be in the description, guys. So thank you guys again so much. Good luck to both of you guys. Glad to have you on.
Absolutely, man. We'll see you in the season, man. We can't wait, man.
Oh, I can't wait either.
Yeah.